All right, meeting called to order at 6:36. We have a quorum today. Remarks from the chairman.
First, I'm going to make a note that because of trouble opening those notes, the minutes,
Okay.
we'll delay approving them till our next meeting in 2
Okay.
weeks. All right?
Secretary has made a comment about delaying the approval of the minutes from last meeting until our next meeting on the 30th. Remarks from the chairman. I really have no remarks other than to say that this is probably the first year in my career on CIPC that I have been given a 274-page evaluation and management plan for us to consider in our 5 and 10-year, because in here there was a 10-year plan, capital program. So I was very impressed with it. A lot to go over, a lot to consider. There were a lot of interwoven things here, like certain things can't be done until other things are done. So I found it very interesting in it. I don't know how anybody else felt about it, but that was kind of my comment on this. And I'm glad the town spent the money to do this. It makes it certainly a lot easier when we evaluate things.
And on top of that is the pavement management report,
Yes.
which is almost as big.
That's right.
Good documents, both of them. Scary in the amount of money involved, though.
Yeah. Well, if you look at it, millions and millions over 10 years. So, anybody else have any comments before we officially get underway? No?
Nope.
Okay. Updates from town administrator correspondence topics. Did anybody, I saw your comments from the different heads of the departments.
Yeah, so do you want me to kind of run through
Yeah, why
where
don't
we
you do
are?
it? Yeah.
So last week we had a couple follow-up, we were looking for a couple follow-up items, so I'll feed back in case you didn't see the emails. One of the things we wanted to do was reach out to Mike Moriarty with the regional dispatch, the radio upgrade. That was the one we talked to him about a year ago on, and he was looking to work with the other towns to see if that's something they were gonna do. That's still in the works, so it's not to be considered for FY23, so we can take that off our list.
Yeah, that will not be included in any kind of bonding discussion at this point.
That's the other thing. Yeah, I don't think it would have been anyway. The other thing was Joe Buckley for DPW. We had several questions for him. Unfortunately, his schedule didn't align with either this meeting or the meeting we have on the 31st. So if we want to meet with Joe, we're going to have to find a date that kind of works across the board. But in the meantime, he's provided some answers to the questions, some of the questions that we had last week.
Okay.
So I'll run through those. So one of the questions we had was the plow. You know, because we bought a plow with funds from the special town meeting last November.
Right.
The question we had is, through the 5-year plan, it sounded like he wanted that to be an ongoing program, not just the one plow that we already purchased, and that is in fact what he's looking for.
Okay.
So he's hoping to replace one a year every year for the next 4 years.
Okay.
So next year, what he's looking at is to replace one that goes on the Mack 10-wheeler, which in today's dollars is about $12,000. So that will remain on our list, which is one of the things we questioned last week.
Okay.
The other thing we questioned was that $50,000 kind of facilities article that we appropriated funds for in November. We didn't know how that's been spent yet.
Right.
And he replied on that it's been used for heating and electrical updates in the community center. So it turns out that the boiler, which we already knew in the community center was on its way out,
Right.
it died.
Oh, it did. Okay.
So they used that money, or a portion of it, to replace the community center boiler. And while they were doing it, they also replaced the exhaust and flue assembly for the boiler. So in total, that was about 11.5 of the 50. So on top of that, there was some electrical work that was associated with it, which was another $1,000. And then some of those funds were also used to, and this was something that was noted in the big facility study, repairing gutters at the library at the entrance.
Right.
So a gutter failed there, and there was a heat trace that was causing the icing conditions on the walk entering into the building. So I'm trying to think, I don't see a dollar amount, but some of those funds were used to care for that as well.
A couple of small items from
Couple
the
of small items. And
facilities report.
he actually emailed, I don't have it offhand, but he emailed the ledger of
did he?
the cost.
Did you forward that?
Not yet, but I will.
Oh,
I just
okay.
got it late this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay.
I saw some of the notes from him, but I wasn't
Yep.
sure.
So I'll say, it's a handwritten ledger, but it shows, the money that's been taken out of that 50 grand and what's left. So most of it's still left based on this, but that's where the money's been spent. That was a question we had from last week.
And the boiler was mentioned in the plan for
Yep.
the library.
So we can cross that off
That one
as
we
well.
can take
Yep.
off, yep.
I'm trying to think if we had any other follow-ups.
We had a few questions for
You
Joe.
know what?
What were they? Because I might have asked, and maybe we just haven't got the answers yet, or I forgot to mention it.
We were gonna ask him about the DPW, the brush chipper, which
Oh.
had dragged over from 22.
So what I've asked him to do is I emailed him this,
Yep.
Yeah,
and I asked him if he could provide feedback on that and reprioritize the list between the FY '22 and the FY '23 requests.
yeah.
And to tell us if any of the requests are no longer needed, or if there's things that aren't on there that we do need. So, but I haven't got that information back from him yet. So we're
Yeah.
still waiting on that.
Okay.
Okay, because there were some real questions, and some of the top priority items was with Joe. The salt storage tent.
Yep.
And he's got a big building out there that holds salt. And then the radiant heat exhaust thing.
Yep.
And that's further out in the facilities study.
Right.
Why now, all of a sudden? Is it just a big item and Ron wanted to include it? Or what? I don't know.
If I can make comment, and I'd like to hear from you. The stuff that I see here, as I read through this,
Yeah.
this company laid out a 5 and 10-year expense, maintenance and capital assets over a 10-year period. And I think in looking at this stuff, if we are indeed going to take their advice, then we want to compare what they did to this to see how it fits in. So some of the stuff that's here might be back out in 2024, 2025
Exactly.
on some of this. That's kind of what I noticed.
Yes.
But I didn't have a chance to go through and actually fine tune things,
Yeah,
and compare it. What do you think, Joe?
No, you're definitely right. And Mike mentioned a great example. The radiant heat exhaust upgrades was in year like 3, I think, of the plan.
Right.
But like Mike had mentioned earlier, I think what Ron was doing when he plucked out the ones that he gave to us from this big book, I think he pulled some of the big ticket items thinking of the bond package.
So, right.
Yeah.
that would be
Right.
hard to float with free
Right.
cash.
Right. Right.
Now, the other thing, just one last follow-up we had from last week is we wanted to reach out to Nancy at the Council on Aging about the van request from last year.
Right.
And she did get back to me as well, and she said that we can take that off the list for FY '23, in essence. It's still
Okay.
something that's being looked at, but not right now.
Okay.
So I think those were the questions that we walked away with last week. Obviously, we don't have all the information back from Joe, but he at least has the request, and he knows to be working on it.
Right. Okay. Any comments on that stuff? Any questions for Joe? No? Okay, hearing none. Joe, you had put down your 5-year capital improvement plan book. I'm just wondering now how much we coordinate that with the 10-year plan that was put together with this facilities management program.
Yeah.
Here, what I'm getting at is, when I went through this, I'm going, this is more complicated, requires more in-depth analysis than I thought was available when we got it in the first place. Because we're trying to go through the 5-year capital plan, we're gonna look at their 10-year plan, we're gonna look at we're gonna look at how everything works with the, where is it? The Americans Rescue Funds Act, because that might change in the future. So trying to tie all this stuff together, it's like, that's a little more, I think, than maybe 1 or 2 sessions can do, and I know he wants to float a bond package, so comments on how we think we're gonna get that done. Importance, I don't know.
Realistically, I don't think it's gonna go for the May election, which he said would be great if it could.
Right.
But just based on what we're seeing, going through all of these different sheets for the different facilities, and some of the big items that, like the library and things, they're not clear. We voted 75,000 for roof repairs at the library that's been approved and going to be spent in the fall. And I think some of the things that we have here, the envelope study and whatnot, I think that was partially done in studying the roof, and we're fixing some of it. And yet that envelope study is something that he wants us to fund in the, this bond package. And yet some of it is being addressed, pieces of it are being addressed already. I think, as I was saying to Joe earlier, before you guys got here, it's my opinion that these ARFA funds can be justified for a lot of work at the library. The library is a regional center for all the communities up here, Oakham and Hubbardston and Barry and New Braintree, and all these people come here for their needs, for the COVID vaccinations and everything. And this building and the environments have taken a lot of wear and tear because of that. And I think some of the heaters that failed got paid for out of those kind of funds. I would think much of the work on the library would qualify for that reason. The pandemic isn't over. There's signs that there's going to be more waves coming through and maybe more vaccinations. And I think making this facility as complete and as safe and as up to date is in the interest of all the regional communities. And I think that's what some of the ARFA money was meant for. And before we float a bond and put it to the voters, I think we should see if, make sure that we can't use that money for that, even the parking lots and stuff within the sidewalks, people coming in here, the traffic in here over the last 2 years has been, a year and a half or whatever it is, has been huge compared to normal because of that. And the ARFA rescue funds were designed in part to cover that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Dan?
Yeah, maybe we want to get a little more feedback from Ron
On that.
on where those lines are in terms of what qualifies.
Yeah, he has been vague, and last week it was the same thing. He said other communities are pushing to use the ARFA funds in more ways than just a water or a sewer job and stuff,
See, one thing that, again, I'll just take the pool for example. When I read the analysis on the pool, right here we have swimming pool deck repairs, fiscal $10,000. In reading the report, the part of the problem with the pool deck, the decking around the pool, is the fact that it's subject to downflow water. And until we get the grading done, we have the parking lot fixed, that it doesn't, the water go down there. Until those are done, you're going to get inflow down in there. So why are we going to spend the money fixing that if we can't fix the problem that's creating the problem in the first place?
Part of the paving
So that
package.
was, I don't know, see what I'm saying?
That's a
Joe?
very valid point. And I think part of the paving package has to address drainage. And it may need new catch basin connections or a little bit of underground work.
It mentions that stuff, absolutely.
And if we're going to pay for the sewer line over to the community center, why can't we pay for catch basins and out of the ARFA funds, that sort of thing?
The other thing is, if you look at, there was an issue to redo Memorial Field in those, right?
Yes.
Well, if you look at the report, the north side of the pool house, it's like this at the edge. So all the water, if it is running off the fields, if we don't address that issue, is going to come into the foundation of the pool house on the north side.
From the parking lot behind the town hall.
Right.
A lot of it flows that way.
And a lot of what you could, and they mentioned about the wall boards inside the pool house, that on the bottom you can see the water marks because water was getting in there. So if we don't address that flow system, how are we going to fix anything in the pool house? Because we're just wasting our money.
Right.
So that's a bigger package than just fixing the cement.
You know-
And I know it said people could trip in there and things were out of place.
I've gone
But
and
I
looked
feel
at
like
it,
we're
yeah.
spending good money after bad if we try to do that in one shot.
That pool deck should be repaired, in my opinion. I've gone and looked at it.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. It's not as simple as the water in the pool is causing it all.
Right.
There's
So-
inflow from other places.
If we're gonna put together the bond package to fix the pool, I almost feel like the bond package has to include the asphalt, the grading, the pool outcome. The pool pump is something a little different, and then the grading in the back. We gotta keep the water from flowing down in
yeah.
there and getting into the pool.
The pool itself, I don't think he had suggested going to the bond package, the pool repairs.
No, but all that
still,
stuff together.
the paving, he
We
did.
could put
Yeah.
into the bond package.
I'm becoming less and less of a fan of this whole bond package at this time.
I think
agree
there's
with
certain
Ron 100% on the facilities management. Can't be put off forever. You've got to start spending money on it.
My
But-
question is, and Joe, I'd like you to kick in, and Dan, I think a bond package, we gotta do something, but I wanna make sure we spend the money right.
And
And don't piecemeal it, and then come back and say, oh, man, in 3 years from now, the pool's no better off than it was when we fixed the cement,
Right.
because we still haven't fixed the
And that's,
problem.
and the same sort of interconnected issues exist with a lot of work at the library,
Yeah,
you know? The envelope thing, to do the whole envelope of the building and do a study on it. We're already biting off pieces of it, and that doesn't mean it's bad and we're not doing it right. We're doing stuff that needs to be done quickly to stop infiltration sooner.
well, I drove by the library today in the daylight, so I could see this side of it.
Yeah.
Because the report talks about the water coming off the roof, getting in on a hard rain, hitting the ground, and then you can see the water pass down to where the door is. And it's settling right in there because there are low spots there. So unless we grade that, it's very difficult to fix the other stuff if you still have that occurring.
And that's tied in with the connections to the catch basins they want to do.
Right.
I think they want to put in some sub-drainage or something.
Yeah, they want to get it away from the.
To get it away.
Right.
And again, I think in the way I'm looking at money, that's perfect use of ARFA funds because this building is critical for as a regional center. You know, not
Right.
just a Rutland town building.
So the thought that was going through my mind, I'm entirely on board with where you guys are kind of headed. I think we're a little rushed when we look at this comprehensively,
Right.
and trying to back into a bond package for this year. And the other thing is I did talk with Becky Tuttle this week too about the bond package itself. The bulk of our debt, and I know and I agree with what Ron's trying to do and keep our tax rate level, in essence backfilling excluded debt as it falls off to keep that tax rate level, and we continue to be able to do projects for upkeep. But most of the debt doesn't fall off until like 2025, 6 or so. We
Right.
have a little bit falling off this year. It's the Naquag renovation project that was done, and what that amounts to, as far as a debt payment, is like 60 grand a year. So what I asked Becky to do, and she's gonna do, hopefully we have it by next Monday or Tuesday, is she reached out to our, the bond people that she works with.
Yeah.
And I asked her, what would be the borrowing amount to back into that similar payment? So how much could you borrow to back into a $60,000 a year payment?
Good point.
Asking her
That's a
also,
good approach, yeah.
based on how long you can borrow a paving project for. Okay, because I don't know if you can borrow paving for 5 or 10 years. So whatever the bond agency says that you can borrow as far as the term goes for paving, back that into the number and see what it is. And the reason I asked that question is because out of all the things here, I think one of the easiest things to accomplish is the paving, which would also encompass all the grading, and all that work that needs to be done kind of up front to a lot of the other work. Now, what I was just sitting here doing is going through here. We don't have a number from Joe as far as all the paving projects across our buildings, but that number is given in this report from a high level. And if we go through this report for the paving efforts, it's about $1.4 million
Right.
to do all the grading work, all the paving work across all of our town parking lots. What I'm kind of hoping is, based on the terms she says you can borrow for paving, that it would come out to a payment of about 60 grand a year if you borrow 1.4 million,
Right.
with maybe the thought of doing a bond specific to paving projects this year.
And
then we can take all
It's-
these other efforts and look at for when that debt is gonna fall off in future years.
Well, I like your idea of kind of the paving project, but that, I guess, needs to extend a little bit and say, okay, we're gonna pave the lot, but take the fire station, for example. At the end of the paving lot, the deck that goes like this, all the water runs off. So that has to be, the grading of that.
That's
to meet-
part of it, though.
That's, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't look at that in that
Yeah.
study.
Yeah.
And does it specifically mention grading and drainage?
Yeah, so let me-
Because,
In there it does, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take, this is the town hall, for example.
Right.
So the town hall is the most, well, no, public safety is actually the most expensive one listed, but the town hall is number 2 at 510,000 total.
Right.
And what that includes is engineering and site, repair, replace asphalt, tie drainage into catch basin, and regrade and site for drainage.
that's, you've got to look at the whole picture.
And
Right.
and it appears that it does.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
some of the numbers I think Joe Buckley were gonna put together, he was gonna fast track a way of coming out of those numbers, getting into those numbers. Because he's under the gun to produce numbers quickly. And I'm not sure his estimates for cost per square foot. If
I'd
they-
be interested to see how well they tie back to the.
I'd be
Right.
interested to see
Yeah.
if he's got them sort of padded a little bit to reflect the cost of extra grading and drainage things that are gonna have to be done as opposed to just resurfacing.
Yeah.
You know, there may be some areas you can resurface, cut and dry, and that's all you have to do, because it's all alligated and falling apart. But there may be other areas that certainly need more drainage, and some of the things around public safety and behind the town hall flows into the pool, like you said.
Right,
And it creates other problems with other infrastructure.
right.
Yeah, and the pool is about 22 grand, and that's for the drainage. Obviously, there's not paving going on over there, but
Right.
it's all site drainage work.
Right.
Yeah.
I think trying to float a bond with all of this other stuff, that we're trying to have a hard time making heads or tails of just what that study, every time I go through it, I think I end up with more questions than when I went into it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's hard to determine what things are interconnected in what ways and how they are going to affect other things. Or maybe not have the desired results because you're not looking for something else.
Right.
You know, the other thing that's going through my mind and bothering me a little bit about the bond package, aside from the paving efforts, is, you know, what I tried to go through is maybe a similar exercise that Ron was going through when he came up with his recommendations. Look at those exterior issues, you know, the big exterior issues. And, you know, going through all of them, the approximate total I came up with for all the things I saw as exterior issues that needed to be cared for. You know, if you're gonna side a building, you also had to do the trim work on the building, you also had to
Right.
do the painting work and things like that. I came up with about 670 grand. Now, there's other things that are going on here that, is it wise for us to borrow 670 grand when we potentially have ARPA? And I know there's probably minimal opportunity to use that funding, but there might be some play given on, you know, your ideas like the library usage and things like that. But the other thing is, we can't do all these things in 1 year anyway.
No.
So we can pick away at free cash for some of them. And number two, Ron shared with us last week that Rutland Heights sale is looking pretty good.
Right.
And that's gonna bring a good chunk of change to the town, and I would like to think that a large use of that would be some of these facility-type improvements to use that money for. This is less than what that amount would be,
Yeah,
you know? So that, it's just another reason maybe we don't want to go down the road of a bond package for all the facility stuff
Right.
quite yet. It doesn't
Quite
line
yet.
up with the debt.
There's maybe a time we have to.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you can't put them off forever, and I agree with Ron's philosophy on you have to, he had this facility study done, and it's a great document, as confusing as it can be. It's a strong basis, and you have to start attacking some of it, because
You know-
things only get worse.
Right. One of the things that they pointed out in there was that not only did you have this facility stuff that had to be done, but they also recommended to the town that they set aside, I'm going to use a round number, close to it, about $200,000 a year dedicated to maintenance of the facilities. So if we're going to fix all this stuff up and the town isn't dedicated to spending the money in the future to maintain this stuff, whether it's painting, whether it's electrical surveys or whatever, we're going to be back in the same place we are and looking for another bond. That's
Right.
a problem, and that's my concern I have, is I'd like to get this done right. And make sure that, you know, in the future, we've got this paid for minimal amount of retail taxes, if you will. But we have enough cash flow then, on an ongoing basis, to be able to support the town that way.
There's,
That's,
we
I don't know,
dedicate-
Joe, your thoughts on it? And then,
Yeah, we dedicate a certain percentage, we haven't looked at it percentage-wise, but of the free cash that becomes available to spend goes into various kinds of facilities management. And maybe that should become policy, that we take a percent, we don't know what free cash is gonna be available any year, but you say a percentage. 30% of free cash should be reserved for facilities management, or something like that.
They did a formula in here, and they said, in their experience from dealing with all the towns and everything, I believe they said that whatever town it is, they should set aside about a 2% of the infrastructure value. So
Okay.
in our town, it would come to like 100, and I think 90, don't hold me to this, but 197,000, somewhere in there.
That book has the values of
That's
all the
what I'm
property,
saying.
yeah.
So it says 2% on that as a minimum to help fund all the ongoing stuff. So, you know, I think Ron did a great job. I commend him for having this done. But it's deeper than just saying, let's float a bond package to get the stuff done. You have to have a support system in the back. So how are we going to get that support system?
I think Joe's approach is right. Maybe we focus on something that would be an easier sell. You got to get it through the public. And a miscellaneous bond package that lists, 18 items is going to have people scratching their head. Say, that's all going to raise my taxes, and they're going to vote against it,
Well,
regardless of what we tell them.
I think if you go to a town meeting, you might see, if we float a $800,000 bond package, and we come back next year for a bond package, they're going to know what we did with this 800,000.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think, no matter what you do as far as a debt exclusion in Rutland, it's a challenge. It's an uphill battle no matter what you do.
Right.
And I think, the goal is to lay out the facts as best we can. Part of it will be up to us, but I think the majority of that onus is on select board.
The select board, yeah.
But the selling point, if there is one, is number one, it's stuff that needs to be done.
Right.
But number two, the reason it's being done and the timing it's being done in is to not increase taxes.
Right.
Granted, it's also not going to allow for a decrease in taxes, but the goal is to level it.
Right.
Is to keep it level, because we have debt falling off. It's an opportunity to backfill that debt to keep the tax rate level and still get some stuff done that needs to be done. That's the selling point. It's still a tough sell.
There's going to be other bond packages that jump up. The safety building and the town hall, the renovations, the big long-term renovations in those are only going to be done in bond packages. The minimum they're talking about for the town hall renovations with everything is 4.1 million.
Well,
That's not going to come out of free cash.
If you look at the 10-year report, I think it's year 5, they're projecting that year a $12 million expense, which is definitely bond package.
Yeah.
So and their thought is, it's reached its life expectancy. So you can Band-Aid this thing, but get it done. And I'm talking about all sorts of things, whatever anyways, it came out to that. So over 10 years, they were looking at a $21 million expense over 10 years. So that's averaging $2 million a year.
Yeah.
So it is, Joe's right, that could be a tough sell in trying to get everything done.
I wouldn't want to jump on debt exclusion for too many small things when you know there's going to be some big ones coming on.
Right.
Hopefully there's some big ticket items that we're going to get grants for, the ladder truck in another couple of years and things like that.
But if we come across $20,000, $30,000 items, I don't know if it's not our process that those things should be funded out of free cash minimum. That shouldn't be included in a bond package. If it takes another year or two to get it done.
Yeah, and I think
know?
that's probably what he was looking at anyway, which makes sense. I fully agree with you.
And in terms of all the paving, I'm not against trying to get a package together for that. With all the paving, and you throw in, now, when you said the amount, 1 point something million,
That's us only, that's not the schools.
that's not the school lots
Right.
too.
So
And some of them really
That's
need it.
probably, I wouldn't, based on all our lots being 1.4, I'm guessing Glenwood and over here combined, I mean, you gotta be looking at a minimum another 2.
I walked all the roads going down to the Central Tree and everything. And even the better roads going out to Maple and stuff are gonna need work soon,
Yeah.
Wasn't Joe supposed to get us more details on that? Because he could figure it out based on the square footage or something.
Joe is digging deeper in the municipal buildings, and then Dan Deedy, the business manager down at Wachusett, is getting us the bids
The actual
or the
number.
quotes on the schools, yeah.
Yeah. And a real good question for Joe is, how much drainage work is included in the stuff he's gonna put together?
Right.
Is he simply just ballparking it with square footage? Which he might be doing, because that's being under the gun to get it quick. That's the easiest way. But Joe's capable of doing good work, so I'm gonna trust him to do it right.
Now, the only other thing that,
And I'm still convinced that a lot of this paving, especially it's public safety around schools and stuff, might qualify for, if not ARPA funds, but a lot of the infrastructure funds that we're hoping are gonna come down in the next year or two. Ron said he specifically doesn't want us to go chasing after the street repairs, because he's sure that there'll be more money coming that'll be qualified for that.
Yeah.
And we can maybe take big bites off of the stuff in the road study with the infrastructure, bridges, roads, water,
Right.
sewer. That stuff may in fact have a good funding source in the not too distant future,
I would hope so,
at least for a year or two.
yeah. Based on the size of that bill, I would hope so.
And I would say, yeah, well, and they're fast-tracking things that are true infrastructure. I think a lot of things are gonna have a hard time getting through.
You put
That-
quotes around fast tracking, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Government fast tracking?
yes, right, exactly. But some of the things that were in that master trillion-dollar bill are things that it's stretching the definition to call it infrastructure.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, and that stuff is not gonna be fast-tracked, because that's gonna get held up in committees left and right. But true repairs of roads, highways, bridges, and infrastructure, which was the part of the bill that had the bipartisan support, some of that stuff will come quicker relative to the other stuff, which in the long run may never come. At least that's the way I see it.
The only other thing on our whole list here that concerns me, that I think probably needs some immediate attention, is the water issue at the public safety building. And that's a big ticket item.
Yeah,
But that one bugs me, because the longer you let that go, just the more expensive the repairs related to it are gonna be.
Right.
I think I brought the charts for all of those. Is this it? Community center? I was thinking that, the community center, we're gonna use ARPA for the new sewer line. you know, why not some of the drainage lines that are connecting to, you know? I don't know, I just,
Well,
I think
No, I'm
this-
talking the public safety, the roof, the leaking problems.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, here it is, okay, I was looking for that. Oh, that's immediate repairs, that's,
In that facilities management, if you look at page 5, table 2, if you look at the total cost over a 5-year of what needs to be done, the estimated amount is $21,443,475. Of that, the public safety facility accounts for $12,546,000. Almost 55, a little over 55% of the total cost is devoted to the public safety facility. And that happens in year 3, where they have a $10,752,000 amount on it. So clearly, our number one, as Joe brought out, issue that we're dealing with is gonna be the public safety facility.
But keep in mind too, 8 million of that is a renovation expansion of the building itself.
you know,
So,
8 million right there.
That's a bond right there, too.
well, yeah, but I'm also,
mean,
you know, you can't say that it's not needed, but where does that fall in the priority
But the
list?
paving
Right.
itself is gonna be just about $100,000, with the proper catch basins and drainage and everything. You look at the top section there, 6630, yeah, it's, you know, over 90,000,
I mean, it does say here that,
96,000.
their report acknowledges that priorities and/or available funding may vary from year to year. However, this exhibit provides a sense of the annual effort required to address the town's municipal facility needs. So it is a sense of what they are looking at.
210 for the infiltration.
Yeah, year 1 would be, they're looking at 197,375 as a ballpark in terms of the cost on this.
Well, Ron did have that 210, the infiltration, in the items he wanted to float in the bond.
Right.
Yeah, because that covers the police, the fire,
Oh, yeah.
it covers everything in that building.
But it's actually, if you look at it, the true cost associated with fixing those water infiltration is about $235, because, you know, it needs to involve, there's another 22 of, you know, the design work associated with it.
Right.
So the estimated construction cost is the 212, but then you got 22 grand in the design work to figure out what the heck needs to be done.
And trying to pull the water away from the fire station and down.
Well, no, this is not dealing with that. My understanding is that this is dealing with, I think the infiltration issue is the roof, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, they had got downspouts, gutters. Their concern was not just the roof, but there was icicles forming on certain sections of the gutters where the water was overflowing or coming behind it. And I guess if we're looking at fixing that from a water standpoint, and we're doing the paving, and we're gonna channel that back to where the runoff is into a sink basin, shouldn't we consider as a bond package the asphalt as well as that roof and everything?
You know,
Or should the roof be done
I am
and
still-
forget everything else?
I'm still not sure. It says 210,000 for infiltration, and repair water infiltration, and much of that is in the roof, but then there's other line items for gutters, roof repair, addressing
Right.
roof repair, fire wing, other wing. What kind of overlap is there here? I
Well-
would think this study didn't include overlap, but
No, what it did was it talked about channeling the water away from the fire station, away from that whole back area, including the wood studio, because that water doesn't channel away properly either, according to them. So if we're talking about downspouts and we want to fix all that, where's that water going to go to? Because we got to worry about the pool now if that's all directed down the,
down the hill.
right, so
Some of it collects on the back corner of the field down there, behind the wood studio at
Oh,
the
yeah.
bottom of the hill.
That's
It's a very
absolutely.
soggy area down there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying on that, Harry, but as far as the infiltration causing the damage in the building, it appears that it's all roofing and wall
Okay.
wall related
Yeah,
issues.
but it also, I mean, gutters and roof repair. I would think the gutter drainage is a factor in that, and
Yeah.
that's a separate item.
So,
How the water drains off the building is a big factor in that.
yeah. So are you thinking, Joe, that this needs to be put into a bond package?
Honestly, no. Where my mind was with it is, looking at our list, there's some smaller stuff that we can look at here
Yeah.
as far as our 2023 non-borrowed items, but, let's say we have $500,000 in free cash to work with as far as capital items. I would suggest take 2.25 of that and get the public safety issues done with free cash. And then, look at plows and relatively smaller stuff in addition to that, but our starting point and our priority being that roof.
Yeah,
So I wasn't thinking about that in the bond package, no.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't either.
The other thing is, I don't know what free cash is gonna be. At this point, none of us do, but we've got 260 sitting in our capital stabilization too, so we could offset some if we had to with that.
One of the things that bothers me about this report, the more I look through it, I specifically asked Ron, was this a consultant firm who put this together? And he said, no, these were not engineers.
Right.
And some of these line items look interrelated to me. And they're not, in terms of years, they're funding and them and stuff, they're not. They are interrelated, but they're not in this study. And I think some of the design work is got to be a priority. This infiltration study and the groundwater flow and everything, it's easy to say, let's throw 210,000 at it and get it done. Except what are we getting done?
Well, that's why, as far as the infiltration goes on the public safety, that 22 grand is for the engineering associated with it to determine
Yeah.
what the construction cost really needs to entail.
Right. And if it's anything like the wood, the historical building roof, things are gonna be inflated.
And maybe.
Another item Joe was supposed to get back to us on.
Maybe step one, and I don't know if you can borrow engineering studies. So the other thing is
Probably not.
maybe as a step one, what we need to look at is at a very minimum recommending the 22 grand or whatever the estimate is to
Yeah.
do the engineering design work for the repair of that building. To be able to give us a good sense of what that
And
next step
maybe,
amount needs to
Put a
be.
warrant down for that, you mean? Put that on a warrant item?
Exactly, make that one of our recommendations for a capital improvement.
Okay.
Yeah,
And not even deal with the 220 yet, because we don't know if 220 is even a real number based on what the engineering study is gonna
Right.
show.
And throughout this whole report, they did CYA in terms of, you got to get an engineering firm in here.
Yeah.
You got to do
Right.
that,
and that, some of that is gotta be priority, rather than just approving some line items. We should approve spending, if there's free cash available, let's throw it at some of the studies to make sure this gets done right.
Right.
I mean, some of it, I don't know that you need studies for, like siding a building, I don't, you don't. need an
No,
engineering
no,
study
no,
for that.
the siding and, to what extent do you have to, adjust the drainage around the building before you site it? Otherwise, you're gonna immediately put, a pressure on some of that siding and everything that you, do you understand what I'm saying?
On siding, I don't know, I mean, because the drainage is below the siding, right? I don't know that the drainage is gonna impact the siding on the building.
Maybe not, but
Or
of
windows
course,
or something like that,
the
you
roof
know.
repairs and stuff will,
Yeah, the roof, yeah.
Yeah. As far as some of the buildings, they don't have any gutters. So you're getting that water and the drip line's coming down. And because that drip line's coming down, what's happening is the soil is doing this. So now you have the water runoff, which is running back towards the building, collecting there and working in.
There should be a little bit of sub-drainage that helps channel extra flow away.
I know, but
Yeah.
they were never built in that way, so to
I know
speak.
it wasn't.
So that's, that's a whole different issue of talking about, working on buildings that need the foundation taken care of, if you will, first on that. No, I like your approach, Joe, in terms of thinking we should request that first and then see what we're gonna do about, because I don't know if I heard Ron, if he's looking for us to put together a bond, put that on the warrant or put that in part of a bond package so we have the money available in a year, 2 years down the road if it gets passed. So I don't know, because that's a pretty piece of change there.
I'm trying to think where we go from here. I still think we're at a point where, unfortunately, I don't think have what we need to make many concrete decisions tonight, but by, 2 weeks from now, our next meeting, we'll have that number from Becky.
Yeah.
We should have Joe's estimates on pavement, we should have the school district's estimate on pavement, and we can have an intelligent conversation about maybe a paving bond recommendation or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And start there, and then, 2 weeks from now, we should also have Joe's reprioritized, the smaller item list.
Right.
Like the chippers and the trucks and the plows and things like that, to be able to go through our normal process of, the non-facility type 5-year plan things that we have on our list.
Right.
But, that said, at a minimum, I really do think that we should recommend the engineering design portion of the public safety water issue right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah, the engineering studies, you're talking about the public safety building? I
Yeah.
mean, I know there's a couple of other places where they want to do studies also.
Okay, do I have, if everybody is okay, do I have a motion
Well, I
to
don't-
recommend that the...
I might be willing to, what are we making, just specifically the public safety building study?
Yes, that's it. Just for that one recommendation for now. Because that...
Or do you want to hold those decisions until we got the full thing in front of us
Well,
2 weeks from now?
Yeah.
When do you think he's gonna need the list for warrants?
Trying to think, when we may,
It's not, I can't see, it is possible we might have something on paving together by then, by May, but there's other stuff. Yeah, I can't see us putting it in a bond package for May.
Oh, I can't either, that's
no,
what
I
I'm saying,
think
it's a warrant item.
you're talking more warrant, free cash
Yeah,
warrant, right?
free
Free cash warrant.
for that item.
I would, let's go through this study and find out what other engineering studies are required for some of these other things.
Yeah, keep in mind, as far as free cash goes, my hunch is, and we can get this confirmed by Ron, he's not gonna be looking for articles to spend free cash on at the annual anyway. My hunch is anything we come back with as far as a recommendation from free cash would actually be acted on in the fall when
In
we
the
get free
fall.
cash certified.
But I thought there was some left over that we had to
Yeah,
spend.
but he didn't seem overly anxious to spend that because, end of year stuff, you don't know where you might need it last minute.
And they're not gonna borrow, I don't think they're gonna borrow money to do the engineering studies.
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I question whether you can. That's
I
another
would-
thing.
I would too.
I'll ask Becky that, but I did ask her that yesterday, and she wasn't sure. It was a question she was gonna ask the,
Do you think that is an item, I don't know if it even qualifies, is that an item we'd want to use our capital money for, to get this thing started, to get those repairs done, if it's not going to be out of free cash?
well, that's a thought. Yeah, we could, the engineering and design piece.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not, that one particular study I think it's a no-brainer. At some point, we're gonna have to do that engineering work sooner rather than later.
Right.
But there's a couple of other recommended studies in here too that I think we should look at them all and say, you know, which of these, I mean, that, we know that's a priority, but was there another, I think the studies have been done at the library. We had Weston and Sampson do some of that, but that was mostly for the roof though, wasn't it?
The one big engineering study has to do with the town hall.
Yeah.
That's the big one. Not so much the community center, council on aging, not the wood studio, not the wood house, none of the wood studio, the wood house, I believe does have some engineering to it, but it's not a very big thing.
Right.
It's the town hall that's gonna have the big
And the public
engineering
safety.
piece. And, you know, after looking through here, I don't know how much engineering you can do on the town hall. It's so fragmented, everything that needs to be done. You know, if you put an elevator in, well, the third floor isn't done. Well, the window's not, the air conditioning system isn't done. So that's gonna be the big piece. That's the expensive piece if we redoing the town hall.
You know,
You know.
that should be one big package.
And that
We
probably,
talked about
that
before. It should be-
itself would probably be just a bond package. Are
Are you aware of any, we had recommended a year or two ago, a committee for buildings.
3. That was when Margaret was still here.
And, yeah, but it went past her, and we talked about it with a couple other people, and they all thought it was a good idea, and I guess they were, at one point, were recruiting people.
Well,
Yeah, it
Ron
died,
was,
yeah.
right? No, Ron has started to put together a building committee.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's.
Nobody from here is on it, but I did see some names of people that
Oh,
were on
good.
it. I'm not
Good.
sure.
I was just curious if there had been any headway on that.
I don't know if it's official yet. I think it was just kind of gathering names.
Because we might look to some of those people to,
I'll tell you,
clearly looking at that
prioritize.
facilities.
yeah, after reading this,
Yeah,
that's massive
it is.
on a building committee standpoint. And I kind of find a little overlap, if you will, in that you have a building committee that's looking to get things done, and then you have a CIPC that's taking the 10-year plan for the building committee and trying to approve this stuff and using them as a backstop for, I find that a little confusing when I read through here what they were looking for in this.
I have too, that's why I was asking questions, if anybody knew more than me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's, because, I mean, if you look here, on pages 5 and 6, they have
At the
a
beginning.
10-year plan laid out.
Yeah. In
And it's a
big
question
general
then, if we
dollars.
take this and we look at each individual year, because they do have it broken down in each place, what we can use to work with on this. But to do that, trying to backstop and do everything in the research and makes this with this, and then work on the act, I don't know. I mean, that's a huge, massive project, and I don't think we can the four of us can get that done in a matter of a couple of weeks.
No.
No, I don't
So-
either. I don't see us pulling a facility
No.
bond together. I can see a
No.
paving bond. I can't see a facility.
Yeah, yeah.
And I even have my doubts about the paving bond, because I think some of the ARPA money and maybe some of the infrastructure money that may come later may be able to flow that way. And I might be in favor, not that I wouldn't vote for a bond package, but I might be in favor of taking Ron's approach to the street repaving and let's wait and see what's gonna come with federal money, that we're gonna get a lot of that done.
And how much Chapter 90 money is available for that stuff, too?
I don't know, a lot of this new money that was approved with this giant infrastructure package, I don't know how they're gonna distribute it. Is it gonna be through the Chapter 90 channels?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then that's got its own set of restrictions? Or is it some other way through the state or through, I don't know. We don't know a lot of those answers. And
Okay,
we're not even,
right. Can
I
we
mean,
get,
there's trillions of dollars. It'd be nice if some of it flowed towards central Mass, but
yeah, and in terms of again, I get back to, is there can we have a motion that the safety building engineering study a motion to have that placed on the warrant, we would recommend that be done, not necessarily placed on the
Out
warrant?
of,
Or are we kind of against
out of
that?
free cash?
Nope, just, that's our recommendation. We can say out of free cash, but
Well,
I'd say a recommendation on a warrant, and then,
I would, I would leave the recommendation a little vague, free cash and/or capital stabilization.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because I preferably it would be free cash, but,
right.
it may not be available to do it from free cash, and if the urgency's there, then we
It's gotta
have to
come
fall
from
back.
something.
Yeah.
Right, and I think you're right, the study needs to be done, because there can be some massive problems there if it doesn't get done.
And I don't think we should put that 210 on a warrant and
No,
stuff.
I think it should
No,
just
no,
be the
no,
engineering
just the engineering
and
study.
design.
Right.
Up
And-
to
and-
22,000?
Well, that's not even the 210. The 210, was that public safety or was that the town hall? I'm
That was
confused.
public
That was
safety.
public safety.
It was 212, yeah.
212,
Yeah.
okay. I'll make a warrant, yeah, right. I'll make a motion that we vote to approve the $20,000 to do that study out of either free cash or capital stabilization, whichever they determine is available. Does that make sense?
What was it, you used 20,000?
Wasn't it? Or was it 22?
They said 22.
Okay. I just wrote
Why don't we say, at this point, a sum of money?
a sum of money.
A sum of money, because I think we gotta maybe determine what that right
So
sum
maybe we shouldn't
would
make
be.
the motion until we know what the sum of money is.
Yeah, I mean, the study shows 22.
Right,
But again, this is a non-engineering group that put it together, and I'm assuming the numbers are somewhat right, but I would want,
Then I'm
if we want to pursue that, then we gotta, I'm not sure whether.
I'm gonna withdraw
Chiefs.
that motion
Okay.
that I started to spit out there,
how are we going to?
until we know what it's gonna cost. I mean, if that's a realistic number,
How about we kind of unofficially ask Ron, let him know where our head is, that this
Yeah.
is a priority issue, and whoever needs to find out what the engineering and design quote is, have them do that and get that back to us.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I just want to move forward on this study somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can move on that safety building. Okay. Officially, Mike withdrew his motion.
I'm not even gonna put that in the minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
But
the
we-
question for Ron, so
Question for Ron, yeah.
action here is ask Ron, 'cause I don't know who he's gonna have do it, whether it be the chiefs or Joe, I'm not sure who would run that down.
And that was the other thing that was brought up in the facility study, is that they felt the town was so fractured in terms of each department head being responsible for their own departments and buildings and stuff, that they basically felt that we weren't getting things done in an efficient and timely manner as well as we could if we had one person overseeing all of that. And I never thought of it that way.
That's, you can look at it that way. Where am I finding, oh, here it is, the water, for the water infiltration study, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to reach out to Ron for that?
Infiltration study?
Yeah, the cost.
Yeah. Is that, are you reaching out to Joe or Ron?
I'm gonna ask Ron on that.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure who he's gonna run down. He can
Right.
chase down whoever he wants to get it, but we'll go through him.
And I'm sure if they've come up with a $22,000 figure, they must have had somebody in mind that they've used in the past.
I'm
on this
guessing it's a
kind of
fairly
stuff.
accurate number. I just,
Yeah.
before we make any kind of motions, instead of having to retract a motion and revise it, let's
And
just
in,
make sure.
in that same conversation, it might be worth saying, could this come out of free cash? Could it come out of stabilization?
Yeah.
What would it come out of?
Yeah.
Because if we're gonna make a motion, it might be prudent to have exactly what we think's gonna happen there.
Yeah, I get my thought on, I think stabilization if we have to, but my thought on stabilization was, we've got some very, very big purchases coming up.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that from
And
stabilization.
and the least amount we can take from stabilization, the better off we're gonna be.
Plus, it's really not meant for something like that.
Right. So, okay. All right.
Okay, so I mean, we don't have a lot we can act on other than that follow-up until we have everything in front of us. But I think, hopefully, come the 31st, we'll be in a position where we know what we need to rate in our normal process. for the
Right.
Free cash stuff, and go through that exercise, and hopefully we'll have the paving stuff to determine if we want to recommend a bond for paving or not.
Yeah,
But I'll also, in the conversation with Ron, run by him those two thoughts about the hesitancy of a bond package, not knowing exactly what the infrastructure funds might allow us to use
Right.
for.
right. He did say they were working on changing that, didn't he? The feds were working on
On the,
changing.
I think we were talking about the ARPA stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
yeah.
working on changing that.
Or
Okay.
changing the regulations,
Yeah.
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 I haven't actually seen them. I suppose I should go digging online. You might find exactly the way it's written, what it can and can't be used for. But I can imagine a lot of towns sitting on all this money saying, let me spend on what I need to do, And I think there's gonna be pushback. I mean, we have a few projects that qualify, but they're not, the biggest one we already did, and that was the Palmagussit Road. And,
But I think you're onto something, and that some of the things that were on there as approved are consistent with some of the other possibilities that you mentioned, so maybe it's worth
and
pushing a little.
and the whole idea of the library, in its very nature, qualifying for ARPA funds because of the use it's been put to.
Well, they do.
There may be some real validity in that. We may get a nice chunk of change that we can dedicate towards that.
Well, don't they use that for COVID?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's been used regularly for vaccinations.
It's a regional center.
Yeah.
Since
It's a-
like
yeah.
August, I think.
They started using it back in the spring.
Well,
It's
they
been a
still,
year now since they've been doing vaccinations there. They just stopped last week.
well, on the ARPA funds, they still have close to $2 billion, $2 million left
Right.
available for that, so.
And in theory, we could get some good work done at the library that really needs it, I think some funds did pay for the heaters and stuff that failed while they were starting to use it as a vaccination center.
Right.
It was considered emergency and it got approved through the state or wherever. I was surprised how quickly that got done. And keeping it an open, safe, and reliable facility is in the interest of the ARPA funds, in my opinion.
And the other thing is, could ARPA funds be used for the dispatch radio upgrade? We're talking 400,000, even though it's among different towns.
Yeah, but
It's a re-
it's
that's a regional
possible
thing.
each one of the towns may have a chunk of money to dedicate from
Their own
ARPA funds.
ARPA funds, right.
Because they have to come up with their portions anyways. That's one of the reasons I think Moriarty has that on hold, is he's still got to get on board with all the towns, because we don't fund it ourselves.
Right.
Sounds like a valid project. And yeah, I'd say that's, considering some of the things they're spending ARPA funds on, overtime and other miscellaneous things, and
Well, lighted signs, the electronic messaging boards.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
Yeah.
ARPA.
and if we
couple of-
benefit with our library by spending some there, that's a good thing, because it's a regional center.
Is there anything on here, like, I'm just looking at breathing air compressor, fiscal year 2023, 65,000. I can't remember, I guess I'm gonna have to get back to the fire chief and ask if that's a end-of-life issue,
Yeah, that's in this book.
is it? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, he's got that in there. And he talked about that at length with us.
Yep.
Yep.
And,
Fire department ambulance, yep.
Yeah, condition of the compressor is close to this, and remember, this was submitted to us last year, and he has it for an FY '23 request. It's an end-of-life issue.
And that's not cheap.
No, because it has new requirements now for the breathing apparatus. No,
Yeah,
it
they
doesn't.
change all the time, and I know he was gonna look at the possibility of getting grants, but he wasn't overly optimistic.
No.
That could have changed, you don't know. So it might be worth a question for him, but,
I mean, if you look at it, this is no small thing either. With new OSHA standard 91, the requirements for breathing air and filling stations increased for firefighter safety. Yeah, I'll have to check when he says is close to end of life. Now, I don't know what the order time is for these things either,
Yeah.
you know, so I'll reach out to Seth on that.
It's a 1999 unit
Yep.
that they got, so it's got some years on it.
23 years old. Yeah.
Right. And some of the new breathing, like the new tanks that are out now, are all carbon fiber. They no longer use metal tanks.
I don't know if
And a
this
lot
is
of
the
them.
tanks, or this is just the filling station.
No, but the tanks now are able to be filled in a different way from the filling
Oh.
station.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And the other ones,
Yeah, I
right.
gotcha.
Those carbon fiber tanks are not cheap either. But they're able to hold a lot more air because of the pressure of the tank.
It's very possible that could be at 65,000, that could be a high priority item too, and maybe Ron didn't realize that and didn't include it in the bond.
I
because of
mean,
that.
I think the old tanks had a PSI of, I think 3,000. My carbon fiber tank I have has a 4,500, so it holds that much more air for firefighters. So, and the one he has tops out at 4,500, and the one he's looking at to get, I think, tops out at, it can go as high as, I think, 5,500, 6,000.
I was gonna say 6, I
So it
remember him
can-
using that number.
Yeah, and that's the big changes right there, so the firefighters have more air
Yeah.
in what they're doing. Okay, I'll reach out to Seth. So if it's 2 years down the road, at least we know. He got the
He's got a,
cardiac unit, so we don't have to
oh yeah, so
worry about that anymore.
if they come rushing to your house, they'll have it, the ambulance will.
That's right. I may just have to call them there to see if they use it, that's all.
You don't have to remind them to only use the fully equipped ambulance.
That's right.
Both of them have it now.
And
Library carpet.
we have an ambulance
replacement.
that's 10 years in service too. Jeez.
Well, that one's getting replaced.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
I can't believe it's, I mean,
Library carpet replacement.
We got
You could
the-
justify that, based on the increased traffic there because
Oh,
of
what you're saying, yeah.
COVID.
yeah,
Yeah, they wore our carpet out.
right.
It's all got, you know,
Well, if you walk into the entrance of the library and you look at the carpet,
I have.
it's like fibers.
Yeah,
nothing
I've seen
there.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
When that first came up, I made a point of going and looking at it, and that was a year and a half ago, I think.
and they're
whatever it was.
concerned, and
It was
according,
when we met with them, the board down here.
right, okay. Is there anything else we want to go over tonight, or
Yeah,
just?
the last thing, you probably saw the email come through that they want our annual report.
Yeah,
So I sent you all kind of a draft, and I was hoping we could finalize that and approve it. To
Okay.
get that off to Beth this week, because I know probably waiting another 2 weeks on that is gonna be a.
You sent the draft
Are we-
to us
okay.
already? Because I don't
Yeah.
remember seeing that in the email.
okay, are we all set on these,
Pretty sure I did one.
facility requests and all that stuff? Are we all set on that then? So we can move on to
Yeah,
the,
I think we're in a hold pattern.
Okay.
We need to double check I sent it.
Well,
I got it.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
I got it. I like the simplicity, like I've always told you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not the normal involved book with graphs.
I don't care.
But I don't know that we need to do that either.
No. I got it right here. Yep.
Dan, did you get it?
I did, and I'm
Okay.
just trying to find it.
Okay.
Okay,
Half the report is explaining CIPC, and half of the
When-
report
yeah.
is...
when
That's
did you
fine.
send it, Joe? I'm looking.
When did I send it?
I printed
It was
mine
either
out
yesterday
this-
or the day before.
I printed mine out this morning, so it might have been yesterday.
Annual report, it was the 16th.
Okay, I don't see it under
Let me resend it to you.
this
It was
account.
from your charter email. so
Yeah, it's from my charter.
Sometimes it filters by email address. Got it now.
So we did the replacement fire alarm system at the library. That was approved, that did get done.
Yeah.
The chest compressor machine got done, CPR machine.
I resent it, Mike, if it comes over.
Memorial Field playground equipment. I don't remember that being done.
I don't know if it got done. We recommended it, though.
Right, but I don't think it got approved.
Let me see. Because I try to track the ones out of what we recommended, what got funded.
Yeah.
Let me see where that fell.
And I know the swimming pool deck repairs for 15 grand. I don't think that got done, because we're still looking at it.
I'm going to look at my key here.
I didn't keep a copy of the warrant from last year, Dan.
Which account did you send it to, Joe?
M. Fergie?
MJ Fergie at Charter? Not a Charter, excuse me, iCloud, right?
Yeah.
No, MJ Fergie at charter.net.
Oh, that's an old one, account. I had switched to iCloud.
I can forward it to you.
Yeah.
That would explain it.
I still have the Charter account, but yet it's not always, this hasn't been coming through. See, I haven't got a piece of email on the charter.net since the 26th of February. That's why I've kind of discontinued that.
Okay, I'll have to update
I want to go to I'm having a lot of problems with email, and I'm getting a new Gmail account. You may have seen it in some of the stuff I've sent out.
Okay.
I sent the minutes in it to you. It's Ferguson Michael 1500 at Gmail.
Okay.
So which one do you want us to use now?
Ferguson Michael, one word, all lowercase, 1500 at gmail.com. I sent the notes, the minutes today. in that.
Ferguson Michael, one word, if you will,
Yep,
at
1500.
1500.
No, at Ferguson Michael 1500,
Okay,
all one big word,
At-
at gmail.com.
okay.
Let me try sending it to you. See if it goes
I
through
gotta
this time.
tell you, I've had the least amount of problems. I don't use Gmail that much, but when I do, I've had the least amount of problems of anything.
You send me things all the time that wants me to sign in and
I
it won't.
can't.
Oh, no,
open your
no, no,
email.
I stopped doing that.
No, I still
Unless
get
it's
it.
by accident.
I got one the other day.
Yeah, I did too.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I
And-
stopped, well, maybe, because I have two headings, and maybe the one I put them on and I go back and make a change, so I will
Yeah, I
not do that
thought I
anymore.
told you guys a long time ago. Most of your emails I've been getting, I got in online to Chatter and I managed to get a forward thing through that old account, because there's still people who have it. And I get it forwarded to another account, you know? But Chatter has not been good with me.
What I have to do normally is send the account you guys can't open, I gotta use and put a special word in there to send it to Anita, so she can post it. Then I gotta send it to you on another email address, so I'm trying to switch everything to Gmail, because I have no problems
And
with
I
that.
am connected to the internet here through the,
I just sent it to your Gmail, see if you get it. Of course, it's coming from my charter, so.
I forwarded it to your.
let me go look and see if
Okay,
my iCloud has it. Dan, yeah, I just got it, town report.
You know what?
Okay, there it is,
Put that in here.
capital improvement report. Good. Well, I do have it now, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everything looks good.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty just standard boilerplate. Nothing fancy, but it,
Cover the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just one nice big document. It isn't a 20-page thing like we've done in the past.
right.
I think we agreed to get rid of a lot of those, the charts and stuff
Yeah.
that we had done in the
Yeah,
past.
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I think
like the
for
building,
charts, they're
the
good for-
buildings and stuff that you used to have me put together are all in that facilities study
Right.
now.
Right.
And that's more accurate than what I was
Yeah,
getting.
because they got the current insurance values on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and, no, because if there's any charts, they're just for us, basically, to look at helping us make a decision, because other than that, they're not
We're gonna,
really
we're gonna take Mitch's name off
interpretable.
it?
They're
Well,
not.
no, he was a member in FY in
Oh,
that year.
okay.
Who?
Mitch.
Mitch.
Oh, yeah.
Boy,
So we
that's-
gotta keep his name on.
He moved out of town quick.
Okay.
Came quick.
So
and
we
left
got
quick.
that done. This looks good, Joe. I mean, we're not asking, it doesn't ask you that it got approved, so. But this looks good, Joe, in terms of that.
All right, so you guys are good if I don't know that we need to make a motion.
No,
I can
no.
just send it to Beth and we're good to
Yeah,
go?
I
Okay.
was just looking at it here right now.
At the end, it says respectfully submitted by all of us, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's,
And by the way, she'll be so happy only be able to print 2 sheets on her report and 20.
Sure she will.
Considering the cost today of that paper and stuff, yeah.
chest compression machine, they got it.
I'm gonna move your name up though, Dan, to keep alphabetical. Harry's gotta go first, because he's chair.
Swimming pool deck repairs.
Until June.
We funded that the swimming pool deck repairs, we're still carrying that.
Yeah, we
Right.
are. It's not.
But our work is done, we've already recommended.
That's the right. So I think the 5-ton truck the 5-ton dump got approved too, didn't it?
I think so.
So the top 3 got done, it's just number 4 did not get done, and number 5 did not get done. But I didn't drive by Memorial to see if there was new equipment there.
I honestly don't know
Something
what that
tells
is.
me he did get that done.
Did he? Okay.
Something, when I talked to him, was something.
I thought they did like, the groundwork.
Yeah,
I don't know if the actual equipment got replaced.
I gotta drive by there and see.
And,
I'll go by.
because that Memorial Field playground equipment, 25,000 is included in this list.
Yeah, we gotta take those off our list because they've already been recommended.
Right.
So as far as we're concerned, that's done.
Yeah, I gotta make a note of that. Already approved in FY 2021.
You know, I felt the report by this company on the facility management, it's kind of like having a guy come into your house and give you a total evaluation on it, what's wrong, gutters and everything, you know, and just put it all out there, because boy, some of the stuff they picked on was so small.
It was
you
pretty
know.
comprehensive.
It was. Paint peeling on the inside of wall number 2, or, you know, it's like,
Yeah, really.
geez.
All right, so pool deck, we don't have to consider that because we already recommended that in 2021.
It hasn't been done, though.
Hasn't been done, but our job is done.
Right.
It's up to the town now to fund it.
Right. And did that ever get put in the warrant?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Maybe we should remind Ron of that next time he joins us. A couple of these items,
Yeah, I'm gonna highlight that one and
the playground equipment.
the playground equipment.
Which one, which 2?
The pool deck and the playground equipment.
Yeah, the playground equipment, I think, the pool deck, I really believe needed to be done. The equipment never seemed too bad to me. But
So we'll have to point that
every
out.
time I play with it, you know.
Well, 50,
Plus it cuts down, now we're down, we've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 items off our list of
Well,
43, so we're getting there.
okay.
Yeah,
Peeling
we're-
away.
Yeah, we've got a few that are done, but there's a few that we've put on
Joe, do you
long-term
keep a
hold.
tally of the costs of those things, estimated costs, so we have at the bottom what the overall cost, what the total package cost of these is?
Of the items we're looking at?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you taking about the ones you've taken off, or ones that we had mentioned hold last time?
Say that again?
You said we've dropped a whole bunch of items. I didn't think we dropped that many, but we did put some on hold.
Yeah, between the ones we put on hold and the ones that we got feedback on, like the radio upgrades and the COA van and
then
these two things that we just realized we've already recommended.
the ladder replacement
Yeah.
and some of the library work and everything we put on hold.
Yep.
Not that we won't consider it again, but not this year.
Okay. So I think we're
Okay.
good.
All right.
All right.
So I'll send that to Beth tomorrow.
Good.
Actually, you know what? I can maybe send it right now so we'll not forget. As long as you guys don't see any typos or anything.
See what?
See any typos?
No,
You looked at it good, Dan?
I mean,
Your legal eye.
But it's simple compared to the reports we've done in the past.
Yeah.
And who you send it to, Becky?
Beth.
Beth. Any more items?
No. Okay.
I'll copy you, Harry.
All right, Joe. Okay, so that looks good, to be sent over to Becky. Becky?
Beth.
Beth.
Yeah,
To,
she's the same thing I did. I said Becky too.
I'm so used to dealing with Becky that I forget that Beth is in towns, Joe's, no, is in the admin's office. In Ron's
I was
office.
always dealing with Anita or Damien.
Okay.
Now Damien's gone.
All right, do we have any other business to discuss tonight? Joe, you have some things down here. We had
think
guest
we-
comment, remarks, nothing there.
I think we're good.
Joe, you want to make any comments since we have somebody here in the audience? No? Okay. Next meeting dates, we already
He's
have.
like adjourned, so I can go home.
Yeah. Next meeting date, we have set up for the 30th.
2 weeks from tonight.
Yep.
And I think we should wait on a meeting date after that until we know we can meet with Joe.
Well, didn't you have one for February already set up, Joe? I saw something on that.
For April, you mean?
Huh?
For April?
Yeah, for April.
No, we don't have we have is it the 30th or 31st we've got set?
30th, I think.
30th.
is it Wednesday?
No,
Because 2 weeks from today would be the 31st.
That's what I thought. I thought it was the 31st.
Hold
okay.
on, I do have that here. Where did I do with it? For sure, I copied it on my,
Yeah, 31st. That's what I've got it in my calendar too.
okay.
My memory was failing me, but my calendar's right.
31st. So for all those who are going to sign into Zoom or watch this, we will be back at the 31st of March. Our normal time is 6:30 in the evening. And go to the town website and you can see and be notified where the meeting will be held. Okay, no other business? Having no other business on the agenda at this time, I would like to hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Any last comments before we do?
And I'll second it.
Okay. Seconded?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Like,
Okay.
8 o'clock on the
Meeting
button.
adjourned.